What's up guys, Venom RB here, and today I'm going to be doing an overview sort of on Supercharged and then hopefully helping you decide if you should buy it or not. Let's get into the video. So let's start with what makes a car game, and that is obviously the chassis. So the way it works is, it's kind of arcade styled obviously because this is an arcade game, but when you hit A and D, the wheels turn all the way almost immediately, which means you have basically you can control it, but you can't be precise with the car. Now there's obviously no proportional throttle because no game supports that. Now on Xbox controller you do have proportional steering and throttle, which I just have it hooked up to my computer. I'm not sure if this game's console supported yet. But this game does have an interesting chassis. It does have boost by just hitting A on controller. And the chassis is good for being just arcade style. Like, it's not the best chassis I've ever driven. I'm not sure if I like driving sims or this one more. They're both different and have their own pros and cons. But the chassis overall just feels nice. Now another thing about this game that sort of ties in with the chassis is the gravity, which is almost none. As you can see by how I'm basically floating down. There's very little gravity in this game, and I'm not entirely sure why, because I don't think this game takes place on a different planet. Now it could, which would be cool if it did, but I don't think it does. The gravity being low is overall cool if you're just into stunts and stuff, but if you're on like a race and you hit a small bump, then you kind of jump far and you don't make the turn and stuff happens. So overall the low gravity is pro and a con. Cool for just playing around. Bad if you're like trying to race and stuff, but as you can see, it's just really low gravity. Now let's talk about the map of this game, like the level of detail and stuff, and this is what's weird to me. So as you can see, these houses right here, right, they have absolutely no detail at all, and then you have these gas pumps which have some detail, right, and then you have more buildings, again, not much detail at all. And then you get in here, and these have like some detail, but they're more like simulator sort of arcadey, cartoonish style builds, which is what you expect from this game. There's nothing wrong with that. And then you get into the city, and it's again more detailed, but in a different way. And it still looks arcadey. I just don't understand why some buildings are extremely detailed, some buildings have no detail, and some buildings have just half detail. Well, not extreme detail, but you get what I'm trying to say. And I'm not sure if that's because they're going to fill it in later or something. I'm not too sure. But it's just kind of weird looking. When you start looking around the map, you'll notice that there's some buildings with no detail, and then others with a lot, and others just with an average amount. So, I mean, it's cool though. The map overall is big. It's full of like off-road. It's full of city, obviously. You can run over people, which is just great. And so overall, I like the map. It does a good job of being like an arcade game. You have like the retro wave background skybox, which I dislike and like at the same time. I think it's cool. I'm not entirely sure if it fits the theme, but it's whatever. And then you have like this port, and then it's just a cool map. That's all there is to say about it. There's a lot to it. There's a lot you can explore. And overall, it's really well made. So now that we've covered the main things, let's go into some smaller things like details, which stuff breaks a lot, which is cool. You can break street lamps, like small bus stops, stoplights, and trees will break, for example. Just a lot of fun stuff that can be broken. There's a flying tree. Trash cans can be broken, and then there's also like gas barrels, sort of, that when you hit explode and like shoot you up into the sky a bit. So there's a lot of cool breakable stuff. You can just break most of the small things, and obviously you can also hit pedestrians, which is fun, I guess, if you're into that kind of thing. So there's a lot of cool breakable stuff in this game, which I like. And as well as that, there's a lot of ramps scattered around the city for you to jump on, and just a lot of fun stuff. It does the job well of just having a lot of arcadey things in it. Now for a race, you just go into one of these things, you select your circuit, and then it takes a second to load, and then it'll just show some cool clips of your car. And then there's like a Mario Kart style guy on a cloud, which is kind of cool. And then for the checkpoints, you have these neon, sort of futuristic, cartoony looking checkpoints, which is pretty nice as well. And here's sort of my issue with the gravity, as you'll start to see, is you just mess up a teeny bit and then you'll float away and you won't be able to get to the checkpoint, which makes it difficult. And since everybody will have the same issue, it's not going to give anybody an advantage. but it's just really irritating. And then another issue is the checkpoints sort of just... This isn't an issue, you just have to learn the track, but like the checkpoints will say at the top which way the turns are, but they're sometimes really sudden and you don't really have time to get to it, like there, for example. It might just be my bad driving, but it's something I figured out going out. And then, yeah, as you can see, just the low gravity is making it a pain. Once you start to rock it all, it takes forever to get it back. There's another example of low gravity being an issue. Obviously, if you drive this a lot, you know to slow down there, but it's just something that's irritating. They also place explosive barrels all around the track to make the experience that much more interesting. So, that's cool, I suppose. But as you can see, they have you jumping through all these like buildings and stuff. And then often, for some reason, and I'm not sure why, when you're racing, your Roblox game just crashes, which has happened now. It happens like literally 80% of the time for me, I've noticed, and I'm not sure why. That's fine, because that's all you need to see of races. It's basically just you driving around the city and whatnot. But it's cool. Needs a bit of work, like the crashing. There's also a percentage gauge up at the top, which I'm sure you all saw. Okay, so the question of them all, since there's not much more to cover, is would I recommend buying the game? And I mean, a lot of people will be like, oh, you just did such a short video, there's nothing really in it. But the truth is, there's just not a lot of content in the game. Like, sure, you can do races, you can drive around the map, you can listen to your car sound like a toothbrush, but that's really about it, you know what I mean? It's a fun game. There's just no content yet, obviously, because it's really an early beta, not even beta, really just early sort of a demo. So would I recommend it? Currently, the game is 250 Robux, and right now, to be honest, not really. Now, you buy it to support the developers, and if you're into arcade games and you have spare Robux, why not? Because it's a good game. Maybe you'll get some sort of reward, and you're helping a dev team out, so, you know, that's good. If you really don't like arcade games, though, you're not going to really care for this game in the first place, so you're basically just going to be wasting your Robux on it, because this game is probably, in my opinion, more arcade-like than even driving simulator, just because the map, the gravity is even crazier than in driving sim. And that's all fine if you like arcade-style games, and that's great. But to people who like realistic ones, they're not going to like it much. The car models are mostly non-copyright. The P1 is the only copyrighted model, and I believe they're probably going to remesh it sometime down the line. So if you also are into realistic looking models, you're not going to like this game. A lot of the models look more futuristic. I would show you, but unfortunately you have to choose that car from the start, and you can't buy any more cars as of now. So I went with the P1 because I just like the way it looks. There is also no customization at the time of recording this. There is a radio, but I have it paused because I'm pretty sure it's copyrighted, and you cannot play your own custom songs in it. The map is still a work in progress, obviously. This whole game's a work in progress, and it gets updates nearly every single day, so there's constantly stuff being added, so this video is going to probably go out of date really fast. But that's really all I can say is for it. Would I ultimately recommend it? It just depends on what type of person you are and what kind of game you're into. Another issue with the game is it does occasionally lag spike, minor lag spikes. I'm not entirely sure why, because my gaming computer can run Roblox no problem, and is running this right now even at 170 while recording, but it just freaks out occasionally. I'm not entirely sure why. Figured I'd also add that. So this is kind of just like the clip of me saying what's wrong and if I'd recommend the game, obviously. And the ultimate answer is overall no, because there's not much content, and if you don't like arcade style games, you're not going to like it. But if you're one of the few who likes arcade style games, you got a few spare Robux lying around, it's only 250, then why not? Support a dev team. Try out the game, get some early access, get flexing rights, and yeah, that's about it. Thank you all for watching this video. Hopefully this helped you make up your minds, and I'll see you all in the next video. Venom out.